What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Bauer. Again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week to the show. Hopefully you have subscribed on iTunes or Google Play, or you've subscribed on YouTube where you can catch it as a quote-unquote video. It's just the logo splash screen with the audio there. But if you are here and you're listening and you're quote-unquote watching on YouTube, I do appreciate it. This week on the show, we have our guest. His name is Donnie Reece. I met this man on Twitter. He is part of the PSVG crew. So he's among the Twitter sphere of all of the different awesome people that are on there. He was very nice to give his time to contribute to this show. So we get to hear all of his awesome stories. If you guys want to check out his stuff, it's at PSVG. You can just go to his Twitter, and I'll have a link at the end of the show. But if you guys want to be on the show just like he was, go ahead and send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get things started with Donnie Reece. Do you remember what initially got you started playing games? Do you remember if it was a family member, a buddy? Did you see a cool commercial for a game, or did you see it at a store? Do you remember what got you started?
Not particularly. I want to say I think my earliest memories of playing games all came playing them at friends' houses, cousins. I'm not going to recreate the whiny, sappy story that I've told before on We the Gamer Cast or the Delvin Cox experience, but the long story short, I always say long story short, and then I talk for like 30 minutes on our podcast.
You're fine.
The long story short is, I was a foster kid, and I moved around quite a bit when I was little, and I always felt like I was... Now I know I was always like a generation or two behind everybody. And, with our Pottern community, I'm also one of the younger, I guess, folks in the bunch. So I always feel like I got, a late start. But my earliest memories of gaming were going to my cousins' houses, friends of my mom's or her boyfriends or somebody having a video game, and it just captivating me. So, for example, the first time I met my father, I was no more than 6 maybe, and my mom had come to Georgia to visit my grandmother and grandfather, and she was like, "You're gonna go meet your dad for a week," and I was like, "That's cool." Well, he dropped me off at his sister's house because he had to work, like a babysitter type thing. She had Donkey Kong, like the original one, like the ladders, right. The ladder thing, and it's one of my first memories in gaming. She showed it to me. I'll never forget, everything about the scene. It was probably 5 o'clock in the morning because he dropped me off at 4 a.m., so it was super early.
Right.
She, walks me to, her son's bedroom, and she's like, "You can hang out in here. I'm going to go back to bed. Don't leave." And I see this thing, and I'm
babysitting.
There you go. And I'm like, what's this?
Don't set a fire.
And she's like, "Oh, this is his video game." And she turns it on, and my memory is probably way off, but in my mind, I played that game for 8 straight hours. Until my dad came back to pick me up, all I did was play Donkey Kong. And I kind of did that. Revisionist history, I feel bad because, one of my next experiences was when I went to stay with my aunt for a little while, probably 8 years old, something like that, 7 or 8, maybe just a couple years later. I was definitely in first or second grade, and they had an NES with Super Mario 3. And I was there for my cousin's birthday party, and I just didn't participate. I just went, once I found the video game, that's all I did. I just sat there and played Super Mario 3 until it was time to leave.
Right.
So all of my memories are kind of my earliest memories until I got my own something to play was always just being that awful birthday party kid that just took over the TV because, it was one of those things where when you didn't have it and you knew about it, you always wanted to do it. I just wanted to.
Any chance you got, you would want to do it. I mean, that makes complete sense because I was in the same boat where I think with me, it was very the babysitter aspect of it though. Hey, don't set the house on fire. Check this out. And then, to be honest, I'm sure your aunt didn't even have to check in on you. You know what I mean?
Nope, I was good.
You were good. And it's sad because that's kind of what happens with my kids. Like, my kids have their own things to keep them preoccupied. So, like, even my soon-to-be 3-year-old, she's just hanging out, and she's like today, for example, Sunday is when I'm recording this right now, is my day off with the kids. My wife works all day. And for the most part, we're all kind of doing our own thing. Like, nobody's bothering anybody. You know, now that summertime's here, I'll take the kids to the pool. So that'll be our, like, time together to, like, you know, not veg out and not get as fat, you know? So we're like, hey, let's get out of the house and do something. So, no, but I mean, like, it sucks now because I'm scared that certain kids are going to get that too early with all the stuff they can do. Like, my 3-year-old already has an old not prepaid phone, but an old Verizon phone that we put, like, YouTube on.
Yeah.
And she can sit there for hours and not say a damn word to me and just veg out. And I'm like, I mean, that's convenient, but...
Yeah, my daughter does that too. We got her a Chromebook. She's 11, and I limit that for that very reason. Because if I'll let her, 12 hours, she'll YouTube for 12 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, kids' YouTube is next level weird. I'm just saying. Like, my daughter has it. There's a YouTube Kids app, which I am very grateful for. Thank you, YouTube. So that way my daughter can't look up twerking videos. Appreciate that. But no, there's the kid videos are just flashing colors and noise. And I'm just like, okay, like, I'll like walk
That's
by
something
her.
you can watch?
Yeah, I walk by and I'm like, what is this even about? And it's just, again, just flashing colors and but that's essentially, though, too, what else are video games besides flashing colors? Like, sorry, like, that's what they are. But no, like, when we were little, we didn't have the internet and YouTube, but we had video games. And I completely understand where you're coming from, though, where when you don't have certain games or certain things at the house every day and you go to someone's house who has it, you'll like straight ignore people. Like, you'll ignore people. You'll just be like, I don't get to do this every day. It's right in front of me and I can play it. I'm going to. So that makes sense. Yeah, again, you might have been the best guest for a birthday party, but guess what? You got to play something. So whatever.
I think about that now. I'm like, man, what an a-hole.
Yeah, right. No, like, I would be so pissed if I invite some kids over for my, like, daughter's birthday party and then all of a sudden they're just playing the Switch or the Xbox in the living room. I'm like, yo, hell, get out of here.
You know, we've had kids come do that with my kids and their birthdays.
Right.
We've had my daughter invited some church friends over, and for whatever reason, one of the kids at her church just glued to the TV, just like I was. Like, that's all he wants to do. He doesn't want to participate. So, and those scenarios now, like, we're so blessed in video games now, I just start whipping out some stuff. I'm like, all right, kids, let's have a Mario Kart party. Like, let's turn the party into this. Let's lean into it. We had this great photo of the PlayStation 4 launched with that AR software thing where, like, the robots on the floor with the camera. Playroom, yeah. And that was the highlight of her birthday party year. We put it on, let all the kids kick the robots around and shake the controller. So I've kind of leaned into it. But yeah, definitely. Back in the day, you couldn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is now is, like, gaming has become more multiplayer as well, but also, too, like, certain games, like couch co-op is a thing. Whereas then it was like take turns, but there was also kids who didn't even give a shit to play. They were just happy to see video games in front of them. They were just like mesmerized by just what was happening. So I love, like, the video, like the marketing photos you see of, like, old game ads where there's like 8 kids huddled around like a 22-inch tube TV, and you're like, what game could you possibly be playing that all of you are enjoying right now? But I mean, now the funny thing is you got, like, party games like the Jackbox Party Pack where literally everyone in the room can play, which is crazy. I love it's crazy now, but I love how some of the games now are turning your cell phone into your controller. Like, hey, everybody's got a cell phone in their pocket. You want to participate.
It's nuts that works.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing that even works. They're like, hey, these devices that have nothing to do with any of this hardware or console, because growing up gaming, if I can, pun intended, I followed the creation of these devices and what they can do, and how the PS2 had a DVD player, and and all these things they've done to get people into the ecosystem, right? Get the people into the box. And, Xbox having the Ethernet port and multiplayer LAN gaming, and the Wii with the motion controls and everything, all that stuff And then it's like, it's crazy to think that there are just these devices that we all have that people somewhere, some networking code just made it work. They're like, oh yeah, we'll send a signal from your phone to the Xbox through the internet. It'll work super fast. You won't even know. It's like, that's crazy. That's an insane thought.
Yeah. Like I think of games like, cause now there's the Jackbox Party games, Just Dance. As soon as they came out with Just Dance and using cell phone, I was like, well, you just made everybody, because that was the problem is like...
People are going to break their phones.
Well, yeah, people are going to break their phones. But also, too, I mean, like, for example, the Wii was... Dude, did you know that Just Dance 2018 came out for the Wii, which is fucking bananas? Like, but that's the most popular game for it. But, like, you know...
Huge install base.
Yeah, huge install base. Got to get that market. Dude, obviously there's no other Wii games coming out except for that one. I literally was at Walmart yesterday. My wife took my daughter to the bathroom, and I'm like, well, electronics are here, so obviously I'm going to look.
And then they put it, like, next to, like, the Switch and Wii U games?
Yeah. I was looking at Switch. I was literally I was like, I look at everything just to see if anything's on sale or anything catches my eye. I know I'm not going to buy shit. I'm just like, let's see what Walmart has to offer compared to, like, Best Buy. And I go there, and I'm like, okay, here's your Switch section. I'm like, wow, you guys don't have many Switch games. And then I'm like, wow, there's 3DS games. Wow, there's 2 Wii U games. What the fuck is that Wii game doing here? And I'm like, I read it, I was like, that says 2018. Holy shit. Like,
Grandma,
it still
man.
came out.
They like to shake it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they want to listen to Kesha. But no, like, it's crazy. But then now, like, when they made it, because the problem was I was on, like, Xbox and stuff, and PlayStation, you had to have Move controllers or you had to have Kinect, and now it's just like, nope, everybody's got a device. Just hold this in your hand and do that. But like even games now being more interactive, like iDarb, where you could like tweet into the game and mess with people, I'm like, connectivity, man, it's next level. But you know, of course, back then, I swear to God, 8 people were not enjoying shit around a 22-inch tube TV. That was not happening. Like. Whatever
what
marketing
if it was,
you thought.
I'm trying to think, like Street Fighter, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, that was the only... Yeah, because, like, think about that. So, back previous, you know, what games... Like, games drew a crowd were, like, fighting games. But, like, you know, you would pass the controller around to different people. But eventually, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say people would get bored because it's not like we had phones or the internet to distract us, you know? Like, I guess that was kind of the thing, though, is, like, everyone would just crowd around a TV.
Well, we had... I mean... So, and that's where I'll date myself, because I had an NES, and I never owned a Super Nintendo until way, way, way later. Like, I never owned one when it was a thing. I got it, as I got most of my stuff, I got everything kind of like through pawn shops a generation behind.
Right.
Everybody's playing PlayStation. I'm like, look at this 64. It's amazing.
Yeah, right.
But with the 64 and then the Xbox, you know, like the 4 controller ports, you started to get more of that. I remember, man, those wrestling games, GoldenEye, Halo, like all of that stuff, like that really started to draw a crowd.
Yeah.
But even on the Super Nintendo, like Street Fighter, Tecmo Bowl, NBA Jam, you know, you'd play them, but like one of the situations my mom's boyfriend had Genesis. Yeah, I had a Genesis, and we were playing NBA Jam, and it was a group. Like there was 5 or 6 of us and his friends, and they were letting me play with them, and I'm pretty sure I was getting handled. I probably wasn't even playing. They probably just had the computer on, and I thought I was. And but yeah, I distinctly remember passing the controller and just playing that game for like 2 or 3 hours.
You make a valid point, because I think that the games where you can get in and out quick, like fighting games, that's one you can easily pass around. The sports games, like especially NBA Jam, because the quarters weren't that long, you know. So I mean, that makes a lot more sense, because you
could swap like halves and quarters, because you could swap your team in and out. Like yeah,
that
you could get crazy with it.
That makes more sense now, because I'm sitting there trying to think, but I could just keep thinking of like older RPGs or like Mario or like single player games where most people you wouldn't trade those things off. But yeah, no, that makes a lot more sense, because, you know, fighting games, like I remember Mortal Kombat 3, just having the list of all the fatalities, babalities, friendships, like all that, and just passing back and forth because we literally
trying to pull it off.
Just trying to spend hours doing it. But then no, that makes more sense. But 8 people in a room, dude, staring at a TV, come on, dude. I'm sorry.
That's true.
Maybe I just didn't have friends. Maybe I had only enough friends to have like 3 or 4, and I was like,
and I was always the kid that just went to the kid's house that had stuff.
Yeah,
so there was a lot of me watching other people play games as a child.
Right. Well, the thing is now is people can just do that from the comfort of their home, called Twitch. But And Mixer. I'm not going to leave Mixer out. Twitch and Mixer. Speaking of that, did you have a lot of friends like in your neighborhood where you would hang out with them, or did you have a lot of like people to play games with?
So one of my earliest memories of me actually having my own console was probably 4th or 5th grade. And I did live in an apartment complex that had a huge amount of kids. And to make the story at least somewhat entertaining, I'm from Ohio. And at this point in time in Cleveland, they were going through a thing called split sessions because the schools were overcrowded.
Okay.
And it was the craziest thing. When I tell people these stories, like I firmly believe they don't believe it.
Right.
I think they think it's fake. So what they did is they split all of the kids up and they used the same school like facilities for basically 2 different schools. So, for example, if you were in elementary school through like 6th grade, like we went to school from 2 in the afternoon, like 8 p.m.
Wow.
And we came home on the bus at like 9.
Wow.
But all the high schoolers went to school from like 6 a.m. to like 1 p.m. And then they came home in the middle of the day.
Jeez, that's crazy.
So we did this for a year, and what it ended up turning into from my, 4th grade recollection was the morning in my neighborhood. So let's say, because when you're a kid in elementary school, you wake up early. It's not like you're not tired. Everybody gets up at like 7 in the morning anyway. So if you were in my neighborhood at like 9 a.m. after all the parents have left and gone to work, it's just like children of the corn, man. Just kids everywhere. Because we probably had a good busload just in my neighborhood, just in elementary school.
Right.
If you added the high schoolers and everybody else, it was like a good 2 or 3 buses just in the neighborhood.
Right.
So, yeah, like the story I always tell was you could come through my neighborhood at 9 in the morning and just like apartment doors were open. Just because kids would just run in and out of each other's houses. And yeah, it was common occurrence to run by, my apartment at 10 in the morning, and 2 or 3 of us were there playing my Sega Saturn, which is like one of the first
ones.
Yeah, because it was, nobody liked it, right? Everybody threw it away. I totally got one at a pawn shop for like, I don't know, $10 or something.
Right.
Played Virtua Fighter and Madden and NFL QB Club and stuff.
Right. Dude, man, I haven't heard NFL QB Club in the longest time.
Brett Favre on the cover.
Oh my god. Well, maybe because like I grew up in Rockford, Illinois, so I'm a Bears fan. So like Brett Favre has caused many a pain in my life, so I maybe blocked him out of my memory. But no, like that's. You say children of the corn, I just imagine like 10 a.m., all apartment doors open and just children
kids everywhere.
Amassed.
Just children. Yeah, I know. I think about that now and I'm like, that's like a horror movie, man.
Yeah, it's like
that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's like a nightmare of like child abduction waiting to happen. Just like kids running around in a place. The only thing that makes me laugh, I imagine that happening, right? Because like obviously, especially if you're in a lot of kids in an area and there's just not enough schools.
It's a city.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me laugh is that shit should have been the opposite. All the kids who wake up early because they're kids should have gone to school first, and all the teenagers who don't crawl out of bed till 12 should have went to bed at night, or school at night. Like, because now
the thing that like sticks with me about that particular memory, because it's odd, like you don't really hear anything like that happening,
that's not
right?
A common occurrence, of course,
is being in class in Ohio. That was the year that I think Neil Armstrong went back. No, not Neil. Oh, what's his name? Anyway, astronaut went back to space that year, and I remember us watching it on the news, and it was dark outside. Like that's the thing that I'll never forget. I was like sitting at school. Hang on a second. I'm going to have to look it up or it's bother me. John Glenn. It's the second time John Glenn went back to space.
Okay.
So like Ohio superstar, hero guy.
Right.
He went back to space like old dude, his 50s or 60s or something like that. And it was a huge deal. And yeah, they had it on the news and we're sitting there doing science. And it's like there's stars outside.
Yeah, right. like, hey, he's
like
there.
7:30. Yeah, that's insane.
Dude, and of course you didn't eat lunch, you had dinner at school.
Yes.
That's so weird.
You think about, you get off the bus, it's 9 o'clock. Think about this. You get off the bus, it's 8:30 p.m. in December in Ohio. It's like 6 degrees.
Jesus.
It's been dark for hours.
Yeah. Because it gets dark at like 5 p.m.
Yeah, it's been dark for hours. Yes. Crazy. And one of my favorite memories about that was I had a friend of mine that had a Nintendo 64, and I used to always go to their place because they had 4 controllers.
Yep.
And that was kind of, I think at that point was when I really started to realize how much I liked video games, because I loved wrestling when I was little, and they played the NWO World Tour, and it was so cool. You could take off Rey Mysterio's mask. It was like so like meta level stuff that like we got way into, and we'd set up like our own tournament. You could make people bleed. That was insane. Like the amount of fun that we had playing that game. And then, we mix it up with Diddy Kong Racing. I remember was like huge for us. And the idea that you could fly and boat and 64, of course. Everybody loves 64. I mean, not 64, GoldenEye. Which, we did too. But I mean, it was just, that type of stuff was insane at that time. Us being little, us all having, I guess, access collaboratively.
Yeah.
Like the community.
Especially the Children of the Corn mornings where you're just like, we can do what we want. Adults are leaving.
There's like nothing to do either. You just wait.
Yeah.
You're just hanging around.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, that's just, the other thing too, though, is like around that, especially with the 64, that was definitely the era where like everyone could play, like 4 players, and like it was obviously prominent because it was like it came with 4 control ports. I knew friends who owned an N64 controller that didn't own an N64 because they wanted to be able to play. They didn't want to go to their buddy's house and hear, shit, I only got 2 controllers, or I only got 3 controllers. Like, they didn't want to hear that. So they were like, no, I bought one. I don't own a 64, but I'm going to people's houses.
If I had the means, I probably would have done that too.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And I mean, like, I remember him telling me, he's like, trying to convince my mom to buy me a controller for a system I didn't have was not easy. I'm like, yeah, I bet. Because she's like, you don't have this. What are you doing? But no, he wanted to make sure that no matter where he went, he was able to play. Like, he couldn't use that I don't have a controller as an excuse. Or people sometimes had 4 controllers, but then you had those third-party garbage, like, hey, guest, you get this garbage controller. Have fun with this thing that no one likes. So, yeah, no, he was one of those kids that he's just like, no, I'm going to have my own official controller, and I'll just bring it with me wherever it goes. So
it's pretty cool.
I was like, that was pretty cool. And that was the other thing, because because PlayStation wasn't like that. Just, I mean, it sucks because, like, it wasn't like that only because it only had 2 control ports, unless you bought a multi-tap, which no one did. But, like, games weren't designed really for the 4-player aspect, like 64 had that shit in mind from the beginning. Like, they were like, there's 4 control ports. We're going to make sure that so many games are 4-player split screen to make sure that everybody has fun. But no, shout out to those wrestling games, dude, because I was right there with you. Dude,
those wrestling games. Even so, like, I think a lot of people are expecting that N64 Classic to come, and like,
it won't have any of them.
No, I know. But you can hack them all, and as long as I can hack it, I'll buy 2 or 3 of them probably just to put it. Like, I have the Super Nintendo and I hacked it, and it works perfectly.
Right.
As long as the hacking is good, because I've got ROMs for 64 stuff, but playing them on emulators and computer, it doesn't work good.
Right.
But if I can play them on 64 and it's like playing the old one, oh man, I'll buy one to play and buy one in case the one I play breaks.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I'm not kidding you. I've talked about how Nintendo shouldn't do an N64 Classic. I've said it so many times in my episodes because I feel all of the best gaming memories from the 64 involve games that are a licensed disaster and you will not be able to get.
Or they have the other games that would complete that list are probably better played elsewhere. Like Ocarina is better played on 3DS.
Of course.
So is Majora. Like that type of stuff. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, like, I just, in my head, keep thinking they shouldn't do an N64 Classic because I don't think you can come out with 30 solid games that are not licensed disasters, because at the 64 is when third party jumped everywhere else. Look at the SNES Classic, Final Fantasy, Mario RPG. Mm-hmm. You're not. They didn't exist on the 64. Like Square had jumped to PlayStation, and So I just think your favorite games are all games that are GoldenEye or Banjo or the wrestling games, which Nintendo doesn't own any of those. So,
which is why the hacking part would be important.
And I swear to God, I did not think it was a good idea until you just said that, because I forgot all about people hacking it and putting things on there. Now, if you could hack it and be like, cool, here is all those really good games.
So the cool thing about the hack is that Nintendo almost welcomes it. Like I tried to hack my brother's. I bought my brother or my brother-in-law a a SNES Mini Classic for Christmas. And I told him, I was like, hey, I'll hack. I actually bought one for my in-laws too. So I'm sitting there Christmas morning, like hacking mine, hacking theirs.
Right.
I'm like, do you want me to hack yours? And he was like, no, we don't really believe in that. Like, what do you mean? You don't like, and like, you could tell that like it bothered him that I was like playing ROMs. I was like,
Yeah.
You realize that Nintendo's like, they want you to do this. He's like, no, they don't. I'm like, there's a message in the system when you hack it. It's like, hey, have fun with this. Like when you open up the kernel, like they left a note.
Did they really?
They really did. It's super cool. It's like they're aware that what people want it for.
Right. Also, there wouldn't be a USB port on the back of it for any other reason.
You couldn't plug it in. Yes, exactly. They could just make it a standalone box.
They can make it a locked box if they wanted
with
to.
one HDMI port, and that would be all you would need.
Exactly. I mean, but no. Now thinking about it, well, the other thing that's going to throw it off too is you would have to have 4 control ports. Like you'd have to. Mm-hmm. So, do you sell a console with just 2 and then sell other controllers? That's obviously what Nintendo's going to do.
I would like them to make the controller smaller.
Dude, that was the first time holding a controller, I was confused. I was like, what the fuck am I
Bowser
doing?
Claw is nuts.
I'm like, so there's this, but then there's this,
but then there's this.
I'm like, what buttons do you use for this game? I mean, but again, like the one shout out I'll give to Nintendo is they do a very good job of making weird controllers, but then making the games work so well with those weird controllers. Like GameCube with the big ass A button and everything else was small. You're like,
I love the GameCube controller.
It's weird because you're like, why is this one button so goddamn big and the rest are small? But then the way they made the game work and the way they
contour around the A button, I think is ideal. Like it fits perfectly. It's a really good fit because you hit the A button in most games. You hit that bottom button like 80% of the time.
Exactly. So they did a good job. Like I'm just saying that, and same thing with 64. When you're first holding, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? And then again, the game will come out and go, this is the controls for it. And as you're playing it, you're like, this makes a lot more sense now. Like
except for GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye's really weird.
GoldenEye is awful to play because of those C buttons. Yeah. Like trying to move and strafe with the C and the stick. So like you can look with the stick, but you move with the, I tried playing that, this summer and it's so hard to go back to.
Yeah, that was another thing I've discussed too, is like bringing up like the old controller schemes, like, or just playing the old shooters in general when their shooters have been refined so greatly, and you go back and you're like, look at this shit. Like, that's definitely a game of the time where I'm not saying GoldenEye is a bad game, but compared to shooters now, it is a really, really bad game.
Yeah, of course.
But again, back then that was it. That was the shooter, so people lost.
And we weren't worried about things like frames and P's and K's. Nobody cared about any of that crap. It's like they just wanted a fun game. Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, dude, thinking about the N64 Classic now, if they allow that,
they will. It'll come out with like 15 or 20 games.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like that game's gonna be, that shit's gonna be bare bones, and it's gonna be like 20 games. Maybe you know what's crazy though, and I bet you if they ask Microsoft, hey, yo, Phil Spencer, can we get Banjo, please? Can we get Jeff Horst Gemini, please?
That would be an interesting thing.
I bet you he would be like, because he already said like.
So I bet Xbox would love to put Banjo or Conquer on it. Yeah. I think it's a matter of, does Nintendo want to give them the marketing press for it?
True.
You know, I don't think, I think with them, I think if you sit in their shoes, like they probably wouldn't pay to license it. I don't even think Xbox, like it's probably worth Xbox alone in just PR, just to put it on there so they can talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't think Nintendo would ever give an inch of the spotlight to another company. It's just not their MO.
So the only thing I'd say to contradict that is Minecraft can be played on Xbox crossplay. When you sign into the Switch for Minecraft, you are signing into an Xbox Live profile. And there's achievements. And the DLC carries over, which includes the Halo like skin pack on a Switch. So obviously they're cool with certain things. And honestly, I think
but you don't hear Nintendo like doing a press release about it.
But
so and you think about it, Nintendo announces the N64 Classic, and the first game or one of the games in the list that you look at says Banjo. That's immediately the story.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you expect Zelda to be there, and you know Mario's going to be there, Kart's going to be there, Golf's going to be there, Mario Party's going to be there. If Banjo was there, that would light the internet up. Every blog, every podcast would talk about it. All of a sudden, Microsoft is getting all of the news.
Yeah, like the good, like
about
good
Nintendo's
guy,
problem.
Microsoft.
Now Nintendo will make the money,
sure,
but I think from Nintendo's shoes, they're going to hack it anyway. Let's have them put.
Yeah, exactly.
Let them put Conquer on it.
That's true. That could happen as well. They could easily do that because I mean they already said Phil Spencer was like somebody said Banjo and Smash and he's like of course, like he's like
everybody
of course
wants any of their character
that's
to be in Smash. That's a no. That's a toothless question.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, any game ever.
Do you think Sony
do you want your
it,
character to be in Smash?
Do you think?
I'm sorry.
You think Sony would let it though?
I think no. I don't think they. I don't think they would. I think if you were asking them, and honestly, you're like, hey, Shuhei, would you want,
don't put Kratos
Sackboy?
Yeah, Sackboy. That's
he'd be like, absolutely, we do, because like Smash just gets characters like Fire Emblem. The reason that franchise has been revitalized and come back
is because of Smash.
Is probably Smash. It's like at least a good 60% Smash Brothers getting people to know who these characters are.
Right.
Everybody
I didn't know who they because again I didn't really play Fire Emblem, so I didn't know who they were prior to Smash. But yeah, the funny thing is, my son's middle name is Cloud. And he, I bought him a wall scroll of the Advent Children, cover and everything. So he's had this thing in his room. Basically, I'm like, that's Cloud. That's an awesome character and everything. And then all of a sudden he's playing Smash. He's like, Dad, is that Cloud? Is that who I'm named after? I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, that character is awesome. I'm like, yeah, he is. That's why.
Give him an amiibo.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that's why I did that for you. But yeah, I mean, I think certain people are be like, cool, yeah, we'll do that. I'm certain characters have gotten into Smash that I'm like, oh, okay, that's like Ryu. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I interviewed the voice actor that does Ryu's voice.
What the fuck, really?
This past weekend I was at Momocon. His name's Kyle Hebert. He's Gohan. You a Dragon Ball Z fan?
Jesus. I mean,
he's also in Naruto, and he also voices Frederick in Fire Emblem. Like, the dude is insane.
I love the fact that realistically, there's like 6 voice actors because they just do everything. Like, they do
Troy Baker makes up half of the
Troy
voice
Baker,
market.
Nolan North, that guy. Like, I mean, there's
Kyle Hebert.
Yeah,
He's
there's
crazy.
Just, yeah, there's a stag. There's probably 5 or 6.
He's been the voice of Ryu since 2008.
Gotcha.
And he did the Smash. Yeah.
Dude, what was his rate for doing just? I love that.
I should have asked him that.
Yeah.
I should have asked him that. I was asking him like what it was like to like read lines for like a Fire Emblem game. But I don't want to derail you too much, but it was funny that you mentioned Ryu because I was like, I just talked to him.
That's hilarious. That's really funny. Yeah, it's just funny because you got, like I said, like you look at Troy Baker's like voice lineup and you're like, geez, you've done a lot.
At Momocon, when I interviewed him, I was completely stunned by how many people were there to get his autograph that were not holding a video game in their hands. There were so many people that were there with anime and manga and stuff like that. And I was completely, because to me, he's just Joel. And then I know he's Delsum and I know he's in BioShock, but to me, he's Joel. And I was just there to get my Last of Us book signed.
There you go.
And man, when I saw that line and so many people, and then interviewing him, talking to him, like you find out how he does everything.
Yeah, he really does. He does a lot.
He's just half of the voiceover market. Like it's insane.
Yeah. Again, I'm convinced there's only 6 people that do voices, and they're just like, is this a Nolan North or Troy Baker role? We'll just give it to one of them. But yeah, and then of course when they're both in a game, you're like, oh my God, you guys ponied up big money.
Have to play it.
This has got to be a great game. You guys got both of them in there. But no, I mean, and that was the other thing that's sad too. Voice acting back in video games in the past that didn't exist. Right?
John Madden.
Matt.
John Madden was original video game voiceover.
There you go, Madden, and he's just like, "That's a good play," and that's all it was. Like your 16-bit, like
you might want to run the ball.
Yeah,
thanks.
You go.
Appreciate it, John.
Jeez, man, dude. It's funny because like I don't up until like PlayStation 1 and Sega CD and stuff like that. That's when they started getting because like CD audio actually started because dude, putting voice and all that in cartridges.
You remember putting in PlayStation 1 games, but then opening the CD app and you could listen to the voiceover reel like a CD. You can just go through sounds.
Yeah, I mentioned that before, putting in the Tomb Raider 2 game in a CD player at my grandma's house and listening to just the soundtrack and like the noise. And she just was like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, man.
I'd imagine now that I've grown up a little and learned a little programming, I imagine that the way it worked is they put all the stuff down as a CD, and then they wrote in the game like functions to play tracks at certain times in the game. That was like their source file.
Right.
You know, so like Laura goes to jump off the second story of her mansion, and when she hits the ground, like track file 5 sound comes up.
Exactly.
Man, gaming has come so far in so little time.
Here's what we should do. One of us should go buy Madden 98 for PlayStation and see if we can just find all of John Madden's tracks and just make them into one big MP3. We can do that. That's not
a bad idea. You know, PlayStation. The first time I encountered a PlayStation, actually, the thing that brought me there was sports games. Like it was an NCAA Game Breaker, and it wasn't Madden. They had another NFL game. It had Terrell Davis on the front, if I remember.
Are you talking about for PlayStation?
Yeah,
it was Game Day because like Sony
Game Day.
Yeah, Sony had their because that was a mistake one Christmas. I bought Game Day 99 instead of Madden, and I'm like,
so when I was playing those games, that was like my introduction to PlayStation, like proper. Those games blew my mind. Yeah, I was like, man, they because you know Ohio State's like a huge deal. Like so, you know, the 64 not even having college football was like a problem, but even seeing those polygonal graphics like on a football game was next gen stuff. You're like, my, look at this game.
I've noticed that as the consoles come out, there are two different types of games out there that make a console graphics freak the fuck out. Sports games and racing games. Yep. Those two games will showcase how good a system can look. And the only worst part was when 360 came out, because when they showed Madden on 360, it was like Madden, I think, 06.
Yeah.
I
remember the NCAA version of that.
I was like, holy shit, look how good this game looks. But then Madden 06 came out, and it was the most bare bones basic game because they just basically put everything into making the game look good. There was no career. There was like a career mode, but there was no franchise mode. There was no creative. Like there was so many features stripped out.
And it felt like playing an old game, too.
It did. It felt like playing like the old version of Madden. It just looked way better.
Looked amazing.
And what sucked is you would imagine they would learn that shit. And then NHL came out for Xbox One, and it was exactly that. Like, it looked pretty, but it was so bare bones. And they even, like, acknowledged it. They're like, next year
games are hard.
Yeah, like next year we got our shit figured out. We got the graphics side down. Next year we'll be way better. So
it takes 3 hours. It takes 3 years to make the game that you want. So we're giving you the game that you want right now, and we'll give you the game that you're hoping for later on.
Exactly.
It's funny that you brought that up on our State of the Empire Xbox show. Like the first one, we were talking about our earliest Xbox memories, and one of my earliest Xbox memories, like especially for me owning my own console. The 360 was one of the first consoles that I bought. I bought them all that year. So I had a Wii and a 360. And man, firing up NCAA football, I think it was 06. Like I almost share the exact same memory.
Right.
They had like the gleam and reflection in helmets.
Yes.
And when players like, if they juked, like grass popped off their foot. Yep. Like I'll never that was mind blowing. I was, oh my, look how good the game looks. It looks so good. And I was playing it. My son has my old 360 in his room, and I was playing it the other day, and I was like, it plays like Madden did on PS2. Like it is like you can't barely throw the ball.
Yeah.
Like there are no physics. Like it's a run heavy game. But it looked incredible.
I bet you each of the companies were just like, hey, just make it look as good as you can, and fuck everything else. Like we don't care.
Crank up the RAM.
Yeah,
dial up the reflections.
The funny thing is like certain. I mean, I loved when they did that with like the older sports games when like the stars would have their face scanned so they looked as good as possible, and then every other player looked like trash. They didn't give a shit about your offensive linemen. They were like, let's make sure Brett Favre's face looks on point. But yeah, like, and that was the other thing too. Like Donovan McNabb was on the cover, so he looked incredible. And then other people looked like burn victims. And I'm like, geez, dude, you guys didn't give a shit about these people at all. But then, yeah, it's funny though, because every year it seems to be every console generation that seems to be a trend. That first one comes out, they don't give a shit. They just want to look as good as possible. And then they're like, we'll make up for it next year and we'll put all the shit. Literally, NHL came out the following year on Xbox One, and they still didn't have everything, but they actually had a plan where they're like, hey, this mode is going to come out in 2 months. after the game launches. This mode that's been in games forever is going to come out 2 months after that. So like at least they acknowledged it like, hey, we're really sorry that this game had no features, but we're at least going to have a plan to try to make it better going forward.
I never blame them for it because I think with every new, every new set of hardware, like they're rebuilding engines probably from the ground up.
Right.
So like you can't just it sounds easy to say, well, let's just take old code and make it prettier. But if the old code was built on an architecture that's not the same, you can't.
Right.
Things don't run the same.
Right.
And especially until this generation, which this is insane to say, really. Until this generation, like nothing was really ever PC based.
Right.
PC architecture.
It was all man specific.
It was all proprietary,
right?
Like closed box, closed loop stuff. The PS3, the Xbox 360, the N64, the Wii,
right.
The Wii U, the GameCube. It was all. It wasn't until this gen,
right?
That it's, and even the Switch isn't. The Switch is Android based.
Yeah, the Switch is the one that's kind of thrown off. Which that's why, and it sucks because now that's the same thing where Wolfenstein comes out for PC, Xbox, PlayStation in October, and it comes out for Switch.
Sometime. 2 years later?
Yeah, maybe sometime. That's the only thing that sucks. But I mean, like, now that's the good thing, though, is that for the most part, it's easier for them to develop just because everything is basically, the other thing, too, though, is like, Xbox was the closest thing to a PC. That's why, like, even original Xbox got, like, Half-Life 2, Doom 3, like, PC games, because that was the closest thing to PC. And then when 360 came out, and it was just the more advanced version of that, it was the same shit. Like, they were just bringing over so much shit easier because so many, and then it's funny because it was the opposite this round.
Because Sony just took that recipe and they were like, all right,
we got
our PC based architecture box.
Yeah,
make it super easy to port games to. Yeah.
They
got the message.
Well, PlayStation 3, for example, when they did their cell processor and all that shit, games came out and it was the opposite because like this generation, especially when the systems first launched, there was all these comparison videos. How did it run on PlayStation 4? How did it run on Xbox One? Because Xbox One usually didn't run it as well because of the way that they did their shit or whatever. But then when it came to back in the day with 360 and PS3, it was the opposite because Madden ran like shit on PlayStation.
Skyrim,
any Bethesda game ran like garbage on PlayStation.
And Skyrim is renowned for being the buggy thing that it is, and people like you learn to love the jank with Skyrim,
right?
And then you add that to the cell processor on PS3, and it's just like
it's so bad,
breakable.
It's rough, man. It's so rough, and I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like people don't realize like that shit. That it was the opposite last time, and it wasn't because it was less powerful, because technically PlayStation was more powerful. But when you make it hard, is a different way of designing it that makes people have to work harder to make it work. Like.
It's just crazy to think of like how far we've come in one in my lifetime, but even in half of my lifetime, how far we've come in 15 years. Like go back 3 generations, it's light years. Like even the Switch isn't PC based, but the Switch is Android based, which runs off of most of that stuff. But even all of 3 of these consoles share support for Unity and Unreal Engine 4. And like that was never the case on like N64. There was no shared development engine, cross companies. Everybody had their own.
Right. Everybody had to make their own everything to make it work on each of those consoles. There was
such a bad business practice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like terrible for business to be that just walled off. Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, again, we'll look at it's not even an engine thing. Think of disc compared to cartridge. Like completely fucking different. Like completely different. Like go play. Like some of those games that were on PlayStation got ported over. Now, it sounds terrible to say ported over, but it really was a port over to 64. Like Tony Hawk didn't come out on 64 right away, and then all of a sudden, a year or two later, that shit came out, and it was like. Not as good. And then the crazy one that I keep forgetting, I think it was Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil 2?
Came out on 64.
That's a hard card to find.
Yeah, and you're sitting there thinking, like, that game was 2 disc on, 2 separate stories. How the fuck did you make that work? Because it's sad because it was literally, we say porting over. Oh, they ported over this from PC to Xbox. Like the new consoles, porting over just means you tweaked a couple things and you made it work because the internals of it and the software behind it is all that PC architecture. So it's not really porting it over.
I think that's where people are now looking at today's, lineup of consoles, and like they're questioning what is next gen, because next gen should be just more hardware.
Yeah.
Like as hardware gets cheaper, next gen should be a processor that processes information faster and bigger RAM.
Yeah, I mean,
bigger, faster RAM.
Yeah, games are just going to be. I mean, to be honest, it sucks because I don't want to say that graphics. To me, graphics are pretty, but they don't make the game, right? But now going from, because really when they upgraded from the 360 and PS3 to the 1 and the 4, like the gameplay didn't really change. Like gameplay was there, and Colin Moriarty has made this argument over and over and over. Like there's so many games that are on especially when it first launched, that were on PS4 and Xbox One that could have ran on the old systems. They just wouldn't have looked as nice. Yeah. And because they weren't changing gameplay, they were just basically they had more RAM to make the games look better or run like Shadow of Mordor came out on both 360 and 1 and PS3 and PS4, but on PS3 and 360 it didn't have the Nemesis system because the RAM couldn't support it or whatever the case was.
And so, Destiny did the same. It did the dual launch.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto Online is available on both, but up until a certain point, all the new shit they were doing, they weren't able to load onto the old consoles. So that's essentially how it gets. But, yeah, I mean, now it's like the 4K jump is nice, but again, Far Cry 5 on an old Xbox One still plays fine.
I haven't been able to talk to anybody about Far Cry 5 yet, but
yeah,
I beat the game and I'm playing it in 4K on the X, and it's glorious.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've been playing
so
4K
good
on the X, and it's amazing. So, yeah, when it comes to the systems, like honestly right now, gameplay-wise, and again, I'm not a developer, so I'm stupid, right? I don't know how to make games. That's why I don't like games like Little Big Planet. I can't make shit. Like, I'm not creative in the aspect.
So you're not going to be getting Dreams?
Fuck no, I'm not getting Dreams. Like, that game has zero appeal to me. And again, no, there's people out there who enjoy making and creating content, and good for you guys. I'm very creatively inclined, except for this show, which I barely make. So whatever. But like, I don't know what else gameplay wise you can do. I mean, I in my head, I think like limitations of the internet, limitations of games are just going to look insanely better. Like the only thing I can think of is games will have the same openness of like Grand Theft Auto or open world aspects, except for they're just going to get way more detailed and be able to do way more within the world. That I don't think consoles will be able to get much better. But 4K, yeah. I mean, I have an X. I have a 4K TV. It looks really good, and I really want to see this year's games because, like, when the X first came out, it's like it's 4K. Like, okay, that
it was a lot of like PC bumps, right? Like if you had a PC, like it wasn't like never before seen stuff. Like PC players have been enjoying that,
right? And the funny thing is, like, some of those upgrades were just the PC upgrades. Like, as soon as when they were announcing like Xbox One X enhanced games, I'm like, well, Gears and Forza are going to be there because they already are 4K on the computer. Like,
Gears is crazy in 4K.
Gears is ridiculous in 4K.
Yeah, Gears is crazy in 4K. It's like a different game.
It's so ridiculous. But no, like, I want to see the future stuff. Like, I want to see games. The best I want to see is I want to see a Microsoft exclusive that's made for X. The problem is that the term Microsoft exclusive because they're on PC as well. But I want to see them focus on Xbox One X hardware specific. I don't want them to think about a PS4 port. I don't want that. I mean, I want to see them like Halo 6 on X is probably going to be ridiculously good looking. Like it.
Yeah, the X patch that they gave 5 is.
Oh my god!
You see, like if you compare them against each other, it's pretty apparent.
Yeah,
it's very clear.
Yeah, and to be honest, like how 343 has been working so hard on Master Chief Collection, which to me is weird. I'm just like, game is. I don't hear that being top played games, but a 4K patch to like Halo 2 Anniversary. Might be the best looking thing. So I'm like, yeah, let's see how that looks. But
I think for them, I think it's important that they carry that legacy with them.
Yeah.
It might be something that they just like start giving away.
Yeah.
Like the next X or whatever, it might just here and it comes with these 7 Halo games.
Right. I think I made this prediction on the Sean's We the Gamercast Xbox show. They've been talking so much about it that Halo is going to become a PC game and be play anywhere and crossplay and all that stuff.
That makes sense.
Because they've done, it's so stupid because like you go to Halo Waypoint and it's all like Halo Championship, which is the esports side of it, which, by the way, I didn't give a shit about esports until I watched the Halo 5 esports, and I was like, holy shit, because I was so into Halo 5. Wow. Like, seeing high-level Halo 5 players do things in maps that I could never do, I'm just like, how the fuck did you pull that shot off? Like, that's insane. But it's all that and Master Chief Collection, and I'm like, yo, man, I haven't started Master Chief Collection in like a year. So
it makes sense because, like, in today's market with things like The Division and Destiny and, you know, the Battle Royales and what COD's doing and all of the stuff, Halo's losing ground. Like, it's taking it on the chin in all directions right now, especially with the launch of Halo 6. And I'm not a Halo guy. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like, I love my Xbox for games like Fable. So, like, but even with that being said, they need as much goodwill and as many people with access to Halo as possible. Like, if they want to continue with Halo being the star of their library, that's almost has to happen.
Yeah. And again, I think it'll, like I said, I think Halo 5 was a big jump for their multiplayer, because honestly, Halo 5 is the most fun I've ever had with a Halo multiplayer in my life. Like,
I've never played it. I've got it. I've played maybe half the campaign.
Yeah, even over Halo 2 is like Halo 2, because that was my gaming memory. One of my fondest gaming memories was Halo 2 multiplayer, because when that first launched that night online, everyone just kind of jaw drops. Like, holy shit, this is online. All there. Nice. This has clans. This has voice chat. This has proximity chat. Like, everybody's head was exploding all at once. We were just like, this shit is. And guess what? It worked. It worked day one. It didn't crash. Everybody's like, this is what future of gaming is going to look like. And
yeah, and it is.
And it is. And like, now that's kind of where things are now with the internet. So did you?
Unless you're a Switch.
Yeah. poor Switch people. With the internet. Switch is a great console, but Nintendo and the internet, I think Nintendo thinks internet's a bad word. They're like, internet, bleh, you don't say those words around here.
We don't need internet.
We don't need internet. So speaking of Nintendo and stuff, like, did you ever, you kind of said it earlier though, that you weren't really as big into like the online multiplayer stuff. So like, when that phase was happening, like because Xbox, the original Xbox Halo 2 happened and people lost their shit. But then it didn't really go nuts until 360. So, like, during that generation, kind of like you said, you got a 360, you got a Wii. Did you get caught up in that, or at any point in time, or did you kind of was just like, nah, I'm good. I'll just stick with my Fables and single player stuff?
Yeah, I think it is my Nintendo skew of upbringing. And even when when I finally got a PlayStation, my PlayStation 1 probably 99, 2000, and my PlayStation 2 maybe 2004, 2005. Even when I got those consoles, like, I always skewed Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, Clock Tower, you know, like stuff like that I've always been that way. It's like, when I play games, it's almost like an isolationist escapism type thing, especially when I was little. Like I said, I won't go through the wow story, but when I was little, it very much was, I'm going to go in my room, I'm going to play video games, and I'm going to forget everything else that's going on in the world around me.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I've just always kind of carried that with me. I don't know. It's because I have friends, and when I do play online, I have a blast. That has nothing to do with it. Like, the games that I play online, like Mario Kart, Splatoon, I'm more or less recreating. I'm using the online method to recreate the local co-op memories that I used to have. Absolutely. It's more like that regard.
Right.
I've never been like the competitive gamer, even with games that I'm good at. Like, I don't get like super competitive except for maybe Mario Golf. And but yeah, Mario, Zelda, Fable, Elder Scrolls, Resident Evil, like, these are my games. Any like horror game, and I love to just sit there and play by myself. Like, even now, like, even with like here in my home with my kids, like, I go to a different room and, I turn off everything else. And, Devin got me hooked on my Astro, so I almost play with my Astros on all the time. And I just like to sit there in quiet and take it in, like The Last of Us and The Walking Dead. And, anything like that is just, that's always where I've gone to. And I've tried. Like, I got the Halo collection. Funny thing, when I got my Xbox One and the Halo collection dropped, I had never beaten a Halo game, ever. And it was one of those things where I was like, I was just never really attracted to it.
Right.
So, but I was like, I owe it to myself. Like, we have a podcast and whatnot. I should at least go through them. So I beat Halo 1 and 2 on the Master Chief Collection. And I started playing 3, and I think I just gave up on playing 3 because I'd played them so many times.
Right.
Or I'd played so much Halo in that
just
space.
In a quick session.
Yeah.
Like, I can take a break from Halo, yeah.
Halo, I tried Destiny, and it's the same thing with Destiny. Unreal Tournament, like, the history of me in online multiplayer shooters just not strong. Yeah. Even when I've played Call of Duty every year.
I was gonna say there was a year though when like Modern Warfare came out, the first Modern Warfare. Everyone was fucking playing Modern Warfare. Like I've played
Call of Duty since Call of Duty 2. I want to say every year, and I guarantee you in all of those games. So that's probably what Call of Duty 2 on Wii.
Oh my god! You played the Wii version.
It's either Wii or GameCube. Because I remember I played Medal of Honor 2, and I'm trying not to get them confused.
Because Call of Duty 2 was a launch game for 360.
Okay, so think about this. Since then, right? So that's what? Almost 12 years of games?
Yeah.
12 years of Call of Duty games. I guarantee you I've played less than 5 hours of multiplayer.
Wow.
I've bought every one of them. And I've played them all. Like, I'm just not to derail the conversation again, I'm really bummed with this year's Call of Duty.
Yeah, how they just...
Because this is not my Call of Duty. Like, they are literally like, we don't like players like Donnie.
Yeah,
that's exactly how it feels. They're like, we just don't like you guys.
Yeah, I'm right there with you where like for me, the Call of Duty games, like I played Call of Duty 2 because it was like a launch game for 360 and I worked at a game store at the time. So I was like, wow, this looks really nice. But
always appreciated Call of Duty's production value.
Yeah.
Like, you could say, everybody can say what they want, but their production value is top notch.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is like when Modern Warfare happened though, I think that was literally the turning point. With the crazy, that was the turning point for every online shooter because every shooter got kicked in the mouth as soon as that came out. They were like, "Oh shit!" Like,
think about Spec Ops and how much that pulls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like it's just insane, like how much shit they did. And then for like 5 years, nobody said shit about any other shooter besides Call of Duty. And then then it slowly started whittling down and everything. But yeah, you're right though. With like, I've never shit on Call of Duty's gunplay because it's great. It's a good shooter.
Yeah.
It gets more and more ridiculous. Like the single player stuff I've never had a problem with. Some single players are better than others, sure. Modern Warfare's one story is like the helicopter scene.
Did you play
all gillied up, like holy shit, those missions are so good. And then it's the other side of it where No Russian is like, holy shit, this is a fucked up mission. But again, it's like, ooh, like it's good.
They're trying to take you there, there's like, if you're going to have a game where you shoot thousands of NPCs, like at least maybe provide a little realism. And I think it's interesting every time they do, like the internet loses their minds. It's like, guys, that's kind of what it's like to be a soldier. Like you may get put in some situation like this. Like that's happened in history. I'm not saying it happens to everybody. I'm just saying that there are moments like this that are true. Yeah. But Coach Mo and I both share a strong affinity for Infinite Warfare. It's probably my favorite campaign that I've ever had, and I'm a little upset to know that, like, that was the one, apparently, based on what we've heard and basically what's been given to us since. That was the one where they're like, all right, we're done with this single player stuff.
That really sucks. I played Infinite War. Like, that was the funny thing is that I got Infinite Warfare, but at that point in time, I was so sick of Call of Duty multiplayer that it was the exact inverse. So, like, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, all those, I literally was like, I played the single player, but in that time I was like, who gives a shit? I want the multiplayer. And then after like Ghost, I was like, I don't want this multiplayer at all. Give me the single player aspect. So I bought Infinite Warfare for the story, and it was good. And it was acted well
Infinite
and
Warfare
voiced
story
well.
Was really good.
It's so good. And then now it's just like,
and it's meaty, it's like 12, 15 hours. It's good. And it's got great supporting characters. And
like, it's funny because like most single player shooters, unless it's got some of them, I won't say most, some of them are so memorable to the point where you remember certain scenes. Like you remember in Call of Duty 1 when the nuke goes off while you're in the helicopter and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you do the crawl scene.
Yes. And then like, you remember throwing the knife in the dude's eye.
Yeah.
Like, holy, like all these types of missions and shit. I remember No Russian when that happened. That was the first time when I felt like,
like pause the game.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to do this.
I paused the game. I was
like, oh no,
that's good. That's a good.
That's
thing.
what I'm saying. Like that's what you know,
eating
game catches
like
you.
The Last of Us made me feel that way. The Walking Dead makes me feel that way. Like that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's when you get good. Like that's when you have that emotional connection.
Self-reflection.
Yes. If you want another really good single player shooter campaign, go play Titanfall 2. It is.
I did. When it came out on EA Access, because I never did Titanfall, because I'm watching all these people like jump off the side of buildings and shoot each other online, and I'm like, I can't. And that's another thing. Apparently, according to Devin, who's our Destiny player, or at least one of our Destiny players, apparently I'm not very good at online shooters. So that might be another reason why. I mean, he thinks, that's his thing. Every time he sees me play them online, he's like, "You're awful.
You're terrible at this game. Why?"
So maybe that's why. Right. But I have played Call of Duty. I remember 1 year, to put this theory to test, 1 year with the PSVG crew, we jumped on Call of Duty online that night. And I think it was probably with Ghosts, and I had never played. Like, that was one of those things. They were like, come play with us. We'll show you how. Right. And I think my first 3 matches, I had like 16 KOs. So, and it was fine. I can hold my own and play. It's just, I don't know. There's something about that loop of just shooting somebody like with no like motivation or.
But also too, you explained earlier though that you don't have that competitiveness in you. Whereas like
I really don't.
But the thing is, like, I think if you don't, that's where, I mean, that's a pure competitive gameplay. That's all it is. It's just
that's my thing with Mario Tennis right now. Like, I'm doing this demo, and it looks awesome, and it looks super fun, and I'm watching these people online, and they're having these crazy back and forth.
Right.
None of that has any appeal to me.
Right, yeah. I mean, but that's the thing is, like, like, that's why you're not having that type of reaction to those online shooters. Like, for me, I would get really competitive with gaming and stuff with like those, like with Guitar Hero. I told you I won 3rd place overall state of Arizona. I was ridiculously competitive with that. But like, like Gears of War, I was super competitive with. I
don't do Gears online. I've beaten every one of them. Never played online.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's certain games. Like, I think so for me though. That's where I started getting the competitive things. But what's funny is now is like things like Grand Theft Auto Online that I've been just playing for months in a row. Like, I just can't stop playing it. It's not even the competitive thing. It's just like, what ridiculous shit can I get in this game? Like, that's the good thing that Rockstar's done. Like, because I don't go on the game. I swear to God, I don't go on and do the races or missions against other people. I don't go on and like do the death matches with other people. Like, you mentioned it earlier in the show that online multiplayer now is recreating couch co-op that was back in the day.
And so that's what I was going to say. Like, the modes in the games that I have played online. So I've played 100 hours of Splatoon 2. And I played a lot of Infinite Warfare Zombies mode, like the whole 80s shtick. Right. But in those two modes, the thing that separates it from just multiplayer shooters is like they're team based.
Right.
Like with Splatoon, my goal is to cover the map, not shoot other people.
Correct.
So it's not specifically me versus the other opponent. It's a team thing. And when I play them online, typically, most of the time, I am playing with Jason or Kevin or Caroline, and we are on a chat together, and we're just hanging out. We're just playing. Like, I'm not trying to beat any. Like, I'm trying to win. I'm not trying to lose. I'm not saying that, but it's more about us playing a game together than who's winning the match.
Exactly. Like, I have a buddy Jared who, because I moved to Arizona from Illinois, he's like, if we weren't playing games, I would not be talking to him as much as I am. Like, we get it. Like, usually on Sundays, me and him. Then that's what happened with Halo. It was perfect. By the time I got off work, he got off work. There was an hour or two to kill before family was home and, everybody was home ready to eat dinner and stuff. So that whole time I was playing Halo 5, it was like our time to de-stress and talk and just be like, yo, what's up, man? How's your family doing? How's your day? And we would just bullshit around. But like in Grand Theft Auto, like, it sounds so stupid, but I'm here to make you money so you can buy that fucking tank you want. Like, let's go. Like we just hang out and do that. But we just talk and bullshit and laugh and joke with each other. And we were doing that since I was kids, dude. Like, I've known that guy since I was like 7 years old. So we were hanging out playing games then. Now we just happen to hang out and play games, but thanks to the internet, I can be here and he can be there. So you're right though. Most of my online stuff, I don't really, it's not like when I was playing a lot of Halo 5, some of it was deathmatch and some of it was stuff, but then other stuff was like Warzone, which is just like 8 people collectively trying to kill all the AI enemies.
Oh, no. I did play Warzone one night with Q and Coach and Nathan. They gave me a little tour.
Is amazing.
And it was fun. Because, they were like kind of telling me I was riding on somebody's tank or somebody's plane. And it was nuts. I was like, this is really fun. That type of stuff I can play. You'll get me into something like that.
Yeah, and that's like the type of thing now that has my online stuff. I don't have time to be good. I'm fucking old. I have kids. I don't have time to be good. There's certain games though, like for whatever reason, like I said, Titanfall was that one that like I was really good at Call of Duty. I wouldn't say I was really good at Call of Duty. I was okay at Call of Duty, but for whatever reason, Titanfall I was playing and I was fucking good at Titanfall.
That campaign was really good.
And that campaign, God, Titanfall 2. I feel so bad for Titanfall 2.
It's the one,
I feel so fucking bad.
It's the only game I've played on EA Access. I subscribed to the service. The only one that I've played is Titanfall 2. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to subscribe again. I don't know why.
I have it, but here's the best part is because of my gaming habits now, I have EA Access because I enjoy Madden. I enjoy NHL, but not enough to spend $60 for it.
Madden. Yeah, I'm waiting for Madden to hit the service.
It comes out with that 10-hour trial, and I'm like, that's about as much time as I'll spend playing any of these sports games. So that's the reason why I have it. So, like I said, obviously we've grown up. We have kids and wives and all that stuff. Like, do you still get time to play games, or is it kind of like when everything else is all settled, like I get to do that?
No. And that's going to make me, I think, probably a little different from a lot of folks. Maybe a bad husband or father, but I make time to play games. Not in the sense that I take away from their time.
Sure.
But like the family knows, like with PSVG and like all the commitments that we have, like they know that I set aside time. So I typically play games Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights when they go to church. Like those are my game times. And the other nights I'm not, but those are my, like I have zones. Like the family knows during these periods of time, I'll be playing. Now, a lot of times I bring them into it. Like I stream on our YouTube channel. There are several streams of me and the kids. Like we're playing Nintendo Land together. We're playing like my son and I streamed Forza together. He loves Forza.
That's awesome.
So speaking, I cannot wait for whatever this Forza Horizon game is. Like I have been baptized in the Forza Horizon waters. Like that is such a good game.
By the way, Forza Horizon on Xbox One X. Good God.
And they said it's going to be in Japan.
Maybe, and like think about that HDR.
We're gonna go like this Fast and Furious, like Forza Horizon nighttime midnight. It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good.
Everybody's gonna be all over that. And thankfully, I have Xbox Game Pass, so watch me play that all day long.
So yeah, and then so we try to play a lot of games together. We do Splatfest together. That's a lot of our streams. Every time there's a Splatfest, we sit down and play together. My wife and I played through. Oh man, we played through Late Shift together. We played through Tacoma together. We did What Remains of Edith Finch together. We did there's another one I don't remember. What's the horror movie one on PlayStation?
Until Dawn.
Yes, we did that one together. So like I try to find games that I can bring them into. Like my wife likes story-based walking sims, adventure games, things that aren't hard to do with a controller but have some sort of enriching story.
I was gonna say, like, does she game? I was just gonna ask, does she play games with you and stuff? Because my wife and I will occasionally play games, but she's very selective on what games she likes. But so does she kind of just hang out with you, or does she interact? Like, will she play the story-based games by herself or with you? At least around her?
She's to my knowledge, I've never seen her play a video game on her own accord.
Gotcha.
She's never turned anything on or sat down and played by herself or anything. She always plays with me, so it's like it's a group thing. We like to do I call it like our drunk streams. Whenever we're having like a really fun night together or anything like that, we'll pull down like a bottle of rum or a bottle of wine and we'll sit down, we'll stream, and we'll just pour and talk. It's funny, on Mixer, we had somebody hit on my wife.
Oh, that's awesome. Right in front of you.
That's always good, right?
That's always classy. Good job,
in the
guys.
chat. So,
hey baby, how you doing?
I'm
right here, buddy. I'm right here.
Gave her a boost of confidence.
There you go.
Later. So thank you, sir. I was the one that ended up winning that deal. But yeah, she's not opposed to games, but she definitely likes games that provide her some sort of movie-like, series-like entertainment with a narrative, you know. And she doesn't like sad games. I love The Walking Dead season 1 so much, and she watched me play it, and she's no. It's just like I didn't.
Yeah, the cool thing I will say is like, although, so my wife plays with me in certain games. Diablo is her fucking jam. She will play Diablo 3 over and over and over and over. And I got to a point where I literally had to tell her, I'm like, I cannot fucking play Diablo 3 again. Like, I can't. We've beaten this story 5 times.
You know
now.
what? I'm sorry. I misspoken. She loves the crap out of Peggle and Bust-A-Move, and she will play them on her own.
Yeah. Peggle, dude, when Peggle 2 came out on Xbox One, I told my wife, and she's like, get off. I'm like, what? She's like, get
Peggle.
off. I'm fucking playing Peggle right now. Peggle. I'm like, all right, let's go. One thing I was going to mention, though, Overcooked.
Oh, we played that together. We have a stream. We did a drug stream. Mm-hmm. Guess what? You shouldn't drink and overcook.
Dude.
Don't drink and overcook.
I wish. Yeah, don't drink and overcook. I'm not kidding you when I say I've never laughed harder playing a game with a person in my entire life.
You should watch our video, just me screaming at my family.
Yeah, exactly. I never thought I'd scream at my wife, get me the fucking potatoes now.
It's very like Bob's Burger-ish.
Yeah,
like I'm sitting there,
yelling.
my head's just in my hand, like, just wash the dishes,
yeah, wash
please.
The fucking dishes, please. I need dishes, dude. That's always the biggest thing because we're good, and then someone forgot to wash dishes, and you just scream. I'm not kidding you. I put a tweet out the other day. Somebody leaked a quote unquote leaked because E3's happening in a week, which is fucking crazy. They put a leak of Nintendo stuff. And they were like, oh, here's this. And a Fortnite was on there. So that was the one thing people focused on. There was like 9 games on this little like slide.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody saw Fortnite. And I was like, holy shit, Fortnite's
Paladins. Fortnite's the most obvious, not surprise thing ever for Switch.
And I mean, everybody saw that. And it was like, this is a leak that it's going to be Fortnite's coming to Switch. And I was like, cool. However, and people made fun of me. And I don't give a fuck. On that same list,
at the bottom,
it said Overcooked 2. And I was literally like, flipping my table like.
So what is we were talking about a Nintendo Shack. What is Overcooked 2? It's just more Overcooked. Like what is there to say?
Again, see, here's the thing is like I keep saying because I'm stupid, right? Because I don't.
Is it like more players?
It might be, but my thing is again, I'm stupid when it comes to game design. I play a game and I'm like, this can't get better, and then it does, right? And like Titanfall 1, I was like, this game's amazing. What else could they do? And then in Titanfall 2, they added a grappling hook, and I was like, this is the greatest idea ever. I was like, dude, but I like Titanfall 1 so much. But then I kept thinking, like, what can they do better? What can they do better? And then
think about it as a Zelda fan, dude. I have beaten every Zelda game multiple times,
right?
And Breath of the Wild, I was like, it's going to be a Zelda game. I mean, I was super excited. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
And then
like, what can
Breath
they do?
Of the Wild.
And then you're like, holy shit. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when I think of Overcooked 2, I'm like, is it just more Overcooked? But I'm sure there's going to be some next level shit. There's going to be
something. They'll have something.
There's going to be some next level shit for it, and then we're going to lose our minds. And I just, as soon as I told my wife, because when we beat that, she's like, I could play this game over and over. We 3-starred every map. Like,
nice.
We did.
Wow.
We 3-starred every map, all the DLC, everything. Like, we were so adamant about, like, we have to complete this game perfect. We have to get all 3 stars on each of these. And then after it was over, we were all kind of sad. We were just like, well, shit.
Now we got nothing to do.
What else do we do? But we found other games to play co-op. Death Squared, another really good game. But then I told her about Overcooked 2, and there was just like this look in her eye, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm buying that shit day one. I don't care. You could charge me $60. See if I give a shit. I will buy you like day one.
I love it when you get that good, like when you get to that point with a game.
Yeah.
Like I was that way with Runner, like Runner 3 that just dropped. I've been talking about Runner ever since they announced it, and yeah, people are all like, well, it's like $40, and the first one was like $20. I'm like, I don't
give
care.
I give a shit. Like,
I don't care at all. Like, we're gonna buy Runner.
Have a $100 version that has DLC for 2 years, and I'd be like, sign me up. Because like I talked about earlier, like when a company does right, you just want to support them. You just want to keep giving them your fucking money. Look at The Witcher. Witcher came out, and they were like, here's all this free DLC, and almost in a way, it was like, we're sorry we couldn't get into the game, but we appreciate you buying it. And they had like a letter in each box game you bought. Thank you so much for support. Dude, I was like, how could you not love these people for doing this? So yeah, when Overcooked came out, like, I don't care if it's $60. I don't care if it has a $100 version with season pass. I don't care. I will give you guys all my money because Overcooked made me and my wife almost get divorced, but also had the best time of our lives. So, dude, no, there was some heated moments. Heated, where I was like, all right, we got to stop.
There's no way I could have start all those maps. Like my family's just not good enough players, like LeBron and the Cavs right now. Like I'm just not good. I can't carry them all the way there by myself.
Were you doing the LeBron thing? Like, what are you doing with your hands? Like,
I probably was. If you go back and look at that stream, I'm just like, guys, just stop. Just stop.
You know what? Yeah.
Put the controller down. I'm yelling at my son because he gets frantic under stress.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
great game.
Go get the potato. Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah. Why is shit on fire? Get the extinguisher. Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
There was games like that though where like it got so point though where it was so ridiculous we'd just laugh because the whole fucking kitchen's on fire. We're just like, what are we doing? Like we can't do anything with this shit.
You fail.
The worst, dude. That was those are the types of games that lately, because like I said, it's bringing up the memories of the couch co-op, and as long as my wife can play, there's been a couple games I've tried with my wife, and she's just like, no. One thing is funny, the Lego games. Mm-hmm. They're real easy. They're not super hard, and if I can find a license that she likes, she's all about it. Like we did Lego Pirates of the Caribbean because she loves those movies, and
I don't think my wife has the draw narratively, this is like boring. She doesn't like just playing to play. She wants to do something.
Right. I mean, the Lego games, for the most part, what's funny is the older Lego games didn't have any voice acting. They were all like miming it, basically. But what's funny is how they mimed it in a kid's way when you know the core, like the actual like license it's coming off of, when you know the movies, and you're like, how are they going to explain this without talking? And then they do it in some funny way. And I was just like, my wife thought it was cute. So, but yeah, again, we had that fatigue where we did like that, then Star Wars, then Marvel. And she's like, we got to stop these. I'm done with this shit. Yeah, she's like, I'm not going to do
the Lego City game has probably my favorite from that aspect of voice acting. Like they riff on all these funny movies like Shawshank Redemption and stuff. They've got like Morgan Freeman voice. It's hilarious.
That's awesome. Well, everybody, you should go play co-op games with your significant other. And if you don't have one, find somebody and do some local couch co-op, because that shit's still really fun. That's what people need to go do. So if that's the lesson, also go buy Overcooked, pay full price for it, give them all your fucking money. It's so good. If people wanted to check you out on the internets and all of the things that you do, feel free to plug yourself. For like, where would they go find you at?
Well, you can find me over there on PSVG. And it's just at PSVG on Twitter, and you follow our blog at psvg.blog. We have a podcast network made up of multiple shows. We have an Xbox and a PlayStation show. I'm the co-host of the Nintendo Shack, or Nintendo Show. We have our flagship show that drops every week, and we have a board gaming show. It's just all about playing board games. It's called Board with Video Games. And then personally, you can find me on Twitter at Play Nintendo, dubbed by Sean Capri. Ain't no G's in Playing Nintendo. And I'm over here tweeting about all the recipes that you need to get the Pokemon that you want in Pokemon Quest, and everybody's giving me a really hard time about it in our Discord, because apparently nobody's allowed to like a boxy Pokemon game.
It's okay. Everybody's going to hang on to that. Any type of, like, you said it's very mobile-y, right? Like,
it is. It totally is. It's free to start. They definitely, like, there are gates, like they limit you. You can grind your way through it if you want. It's just going to take a long time. But, it was weird because when I first saw it, my first impression was like, it looks like a mobile game. Like it's like Minecraft-y Pokemon, and like you don't even control the characters. Like it's really kind of like a base building game. What you do is you build a party, you send them out, you press like their attacks, they beat up things, you gather resources, you come back, you cook stuff, you decorate, you do all this other stuff to make yourself stronger, better, and you go do it again. Right. The fun thing is, I always hate saying I'm a big fan, diehard fan, whatever. I'm a devout follower of Pokemon games. I have been for the longest time, and I've never been in the collect 'em all sense, and I'm not with this game. But this game has made it hard for me to get the Pokemon that I want. So I'm grinding out trying to get them. Exactly. So there's like 6 Pokemon that I want that I can't stop playing until I get them. And once I get them and level them up and all that, then I think I'll be able to put it down. But until then, the cool thing about it, for anybody that's interested in your podcast to play it, is that it does have DLC packs, or like I would call them microtransactions, but they're not really. They're like packs you open up. They're like one-time fees, so you're not going to get hit with ticket fees like every day.
Sure.
But the full game, you could buy everything that you could get is $30. That's not bad for a Pokemon license, and it really speeds up the game, and they give you a lot of stuff to like really get going. So that almost made the game just that much more enjoyable.
Right.
But the best thing that I found out about it is if you buy the $30 pack, or if you buy any of the packs, like I did. anybody on your Switch profile gets access to those packs. So like my son got them, my daughter got them. We didn't have to buy them separately for each individual profile. Like it's just registered to the console.
Nice.
So it was almost like that $30 was triple folded because I didn't have to buy it for them, which was great.
That's way less. Like there's games out there that are just so egregious with it. Like you can pay $100 real for $8 million in Grand Theft Auto money. Yeah. If the whole thing is $30, everybody shut up.
State of Decay has, or was it State of Decay? No. What was that? Far Cry. You can buy gold and whatnot with the original. Yeah, and I was looking at that and I was like, this is...
Dude, if anybody drops $100 of real life money towards a currency in another game, it's crazy. But again, that's something that I don't get. But I'm not going to fault them if they want to put it out there and some idiot wants to pay $100.
Somebody wants to pay for
them. Rockstar's probably made billions of dollars in shark cards, like, just stupid amounts of money in shark cards. So, well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing all your stories, and I appreciate it, man.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, and again, thank you, Donnie, for being on the show. If you guys want to check out any of the stuff he does, you can go ahead and check him out on Twitter at Playin Nintendo. So playin without the G, like playing without the G, Nintendo. You could also check out everything at the PSVG.blog, so you can check out all of the things that him and his crew does. If you guys want to be on the show just like he was, go ahead and send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. We also have a Facebook group, which is just search on Facebook Growing Up Gaming, as well as a YouTube channel. So I'm really hoping that I can get to doing some more things on there, possibly doing some streams of some games that people say are some of their fonder memories, because I'd like to experience what they did. Hopefully it kind of brings back that same type of memory for me as well. And again, I just appreciate you guys each and every week. All the follows, all the recommendations for guests. You guys have been great, and I can't do this show without your guys' support. So thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, do all the normal social media stuff that everybody else asks you to do. But it really helps. It helps get the show out there. It helps broaden the horizons. It helps get more ears and eyes on the show. And I really do appreciate it, guys. So I will catch you guys next week with another new episode and another new guest. See ya.